It's an imploding, exploding machine, a gyroscope, an antenna built to perfectly transmit and receive waveforms. But what's the connection between all these sciences? And the answer is simple. It's doubling. When you follow what these numbers are doing, you get doubling. And why might that be significant? Well, our cells double to create us. We have one cell, conceptions, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Musical scales are doubling. The binary code for computers doubling. Nuclear reactions, squares and square roots, all doubling.
Okay, you get infinity, or the lazy 8, correct? Infinity is made out of only 6 numbers, and then it's a repeating pattern over and over again. So 64 doubles 128 equals 11 is 2, 128 doubled is 256 equals 13 is 4, 256 doubled is 512, which equals 8, 512 doubled is 1024 equals 7, 2048 equals 14 is 5.
Doubling is motion at an angle, or what's called angular momentum. It's the whirlwind and treadmill of creation. It spins the atoms in our body, the Earth on its axis, the solar system, galaxy, the whole universe. And so what causes this doubling? What is it that's being transmitted and received? And that's where that red pyramid comes in. This pyramid is representative of what we call flux fields. We have electricity. At the center of electricity is magnetism. At the center of magnetism is a flux. It's a higher dimensional energy known by many names such as dark energy, tachyons, monopoles, gravitons. We call it etheron energy. It's the energy that's keeping us conscious and alive, and it's not a static or stationary energy. It's a pulse, it's a surge, it's the beating heart of all existence. It's the ultimate fundamental particle in the universe, the God particle, and I know how to harness it. This energy is the source of all time, motion, and vibration. It's the only thing that comes from the whole, or the zero, the center of the cyclone. It emanates linearly in all directions, penetrating everything without any resistance. It cannot be shielded. As it penetrates, it leaves a grain. It shows you how things move, how they stick together or come apart. It animates everything. It's the source of the non-decaying spin of the electron. If you combine it with a coil, you get a perfect mathematical vortex consisting of a positive electromagnetic energy radiating out and a negative backdraft counterspace, which is the same as gravity. It allows for contraction. Etherons are literally the glue that holds the universe together. Einstein called it an inertia ether. Ultimately, when this is arrayed in true 3D shape, which is what I discovered, it forms a shape commonly known as a torus or a donut.
These toroidal dynamics are visible at various scales. One of them is at the galactic level, which are huge spinning structures with billions of stars in it. Looks like typically big arms of galaxies spinning around, and they have vortices that goes from the center out to the edge of the galactic halo that surrounds them. Stars move from this galactic disk out to the halo, down the vortices, and back out again. Stars like Arcturus, for instance, we know have done that path already. That's the appropriate description even for the atmosphere of our planet. The weather goes from the North Pole down to the equator and then back up, from the South Pole up to the equator and then back down. Even the dynamics on the surface of the sun are very similar. Of course, here we're looking at it from an external perspective on a small scale model. When you look at the solar system embedded in the galaxy, embedded in the cluster, embedded in the supercluster, we're traveling in this boundless sea of infinite torus flow.
I found some very interesting, as a result of an interaction with a friend of mine, I found some interesting function to the phi spiral that I've never seen anywhere else. Now I might be missing something, but okay. So I was building a phi spiral, building it using phi relationship by segments, and at one point, when my spiral was approximately here, I just continued to add segments without changing their relationship to each other. Meaning, I continue to add segments to my spiral, but instead of increasing my segment length 1.618 every time, I just kept the same ratio, and within a few segments, I had a perfect circle coming back, right? And that circle, encompasses the spiral dynamic, but interestingly, the spiral is not in the middle of the circle. And I thought that was interesting because when we plot orbitals of particles falling into a black hole, we usually plot them on a geodesic in which the center of the spiral is the center of the black hole, right? But it doesn't naturally do this if you're doing it geometrically. So I thought that was interesting. But I was playing with this and Andre looks at me and goes, hey, that's not in the middle. And I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't fall in the middle. I'm trying to figure out what the ratio that is. And, is Marco around? And he said, wait a minute, do a Marco, crazy geometry trick. And I'm like, okay. With the CAD program, I was able to reproduce it. And sure enough, turns out that the spiral vortices intersect exactly where what you call your emanation point is, which is not in the middle of the sphere.